Take Mom's card, my son said. There's $150,000 on it, treat yourself. I stood there holding my breath, watching his wife smile as if my life savings were her little bonus. My own son, my blood, didn't even look at me when he said it. In that moment, something inside me cracked. You can forgive many things in life, but not when your child spends your years of sacrifice, like pocket change. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? If this story hits home, comment 1 or tell me where you're watching from. And if it makes you angry, hit like or type 0 to say enough. The candles on the dining table wobbled, as if they'd heard him too. Spring light fell through the lace curtains, thin as old skin, turning the dust in the room into bright, drifting flecks. Melissa pressed the card between 2 manicured fingers like a prize ribbon. Her smile polished, camera ready. I noticed how long she let her eyes rest on it. 1 beat too long, the kind of pause that isn't gratitude, but possession. Ryan lifted his glass. Still not looking my way already. Onto a story about some new development off Route 7. Great schools, great resale. The kind of talk that used to live in my husband's mouth, and never in mine. Mom, sit, he said. Enjoy your birthday dinner. Roast chicken steamed on the platter, fat crackling on the skin, thyme sprigs curling like ribbon. It was the same recipe Dennis swore tasted like Sundays, and I'd brought it because I thought it might remind them of home. Instead, the smell made me feel like a caterer in a house that once belonged to me. I took the chair closest to the window. From there, I could see the bird feeder Dennis had carved, a tiny cedar church we'd nailed to the maple tree the year Ryan left for college. A chickadee pecked at the seed and shot away. The jazz station in the kitchen murmured a trumpet line too smooth for the prickling at the back of my neck. Treat yourself, Melissa repeated lightly like a chorus. Really, Evelyn? You deserve it. There are words that land like stones. That deserve did. I have spent most of my life not deserving, just doing. Packing lunches, grading papers, saving for rainy days that never announced themselves until they broke the roof. We never had much, Dennis and I, but we had discipline, a small pension, a savings account guarded like a nest, a card that was mine in name because I hated debt. I tried to swallow the unease and cut a piece of breast meat. The knife clicked against the plate. My hand wasn't steady. Ryan's phone buzzed. He silenced it and laughed at something Melissa whispered, a private joke that didn't need me. More potatoes, I asked, stretching for ordinary. Melissa's gratitude came wrapped in silk. You're an angel, she said, letting the card disappear into her purse. There it went, the shape of my years slid between lipstick and a wallet thick with other people's names. Conversation skated along the safe surfaces. A neighbor's new dog. The accountant's golf tournament. A restaurant. Everyone swore we should try. I nodded in the right places. I smiled when they did. But under the table, my fingers found my wedding band and turned it the way a pastor turns pages before the sermon. A voice bright younger floated in from the entryway. Melissa's friend, I remembered, the one with the perfect eyebrows and the talent for compliments that always felt like measurements. You got it, she asked, low but excited. Of course, Melissa said. She's so easy. She actually thanked me. The chicken went cold in my mouth. I felt the words slide through me, cold as a needle. Easy. Thanked her. I kept my eyes on the tablecloth, on the faint tea stain near my plate that no one commented on, as though I wasn't in the room at all. The world can tilt in the smallest moments, and no one hears it but you. Bathroom, I murmured, pushing my chair back with the careful smile that women learn early. Don't make a scene. Don't make it harder for them to call you unreasonable. In the hallway, the scent of expensive perfume sat heavy on the air. The jazz was louder here, a saxophone sliding across something like sorrow. They were just inside the kitchen, the two of them framed by the doorway like a photograph. Melissa was angled toward her friend, her voice lowered but not enough. He said it himself, she was saying, shrugging. What kind of mother needs 150 grand sitting around? I'm doing her a favor getting it moving. I didn't move. The linoleum under my shoes pressed its pattern into my soles. I thought of the notebook I kept in the drawer beside the telephone, the pages where I wrote down every bill, paid every grocery expense, the little triumphs like finding coupons for laundry soap. I thought of Dennis, who never asked where the money came from, because he knew exactly how many hours I'd traded for each number. I thought of Ryan at 5 coming home with a ribbon for perfect attendance, and how I'd taped it to the refrigerator so he'd see every morning that showing up mattered. "Happy birthday, by the way," the friend said, voice crisp with amusement. "Please," Melissa replied, rolling her eyes with a laugh that cut warmer than the knife in my drawer. "The sooner we fix things, the better for all of us." Fix. It's a practical word. It can mean mend, or it can mean arrange. In that doorway, it meant replace. Back at the table, I folded napkins I'd already folded, set straight a salt shaker that wasn't crooked, poured water into a glass that was already full. The room had all the props of celebration, but the script had changed, and I hadn't been given my lines. "Everything okay?" Ryan asked, finally glancing up. There was affection there, the old kind, but it was thin, stretched like a sweater someone else had worn too hard. "Fine," I said. I just needed a breath. He reached for the basket of rolls, and then paused, frowning at the kitchen door where his wife had just disappeared. "She's trying," he added, as if I'd accused anyone of anything. "We all are. Once on a January morning we'd lost power for 2 days, and Dennis kept the house warm with logs he split in the snow. When I tell you about warmth, that is what I mean." There at the table, the air had a temperature but no heat. I buttered a roll and set it aside. My appetite had gone wherever the chickadee had flown. Mini-storms happen inside a person. First comes lightning, a bright strike of recognition. Then the quiet, the counting of seconds, until the thunder. I thought of the card. I thought of the number he'd said out loud, the looseness in his voice when he said it. I thought of how Melissa's fingers had curled, how her friend's eyebrows had tipped like scales. I have always been slow to anger. It's a lesson you learn as a woman, if you wish to be allowed in rooms like this one. But slow is not the same as never. Something stood up in me, something old and tired, and finally done with being polite. "Coffee?" I asked, already rising. In the kitchen, I didn't look at Melissa. I looked at the drawer where my notebook belonged. I imagined flipping pages, lining up dates with receipts, creating the kind of order that doesn't ask permission. The kettle began to sing. It sounded like relief might, if relief had a voice, thin at first, then gathering itself. From the living room, Ryan started a story, something about interest rates, and the kettle drowned him out. I poured 3 cups and carried 2 back, letting the third cool beside my seat. The card's absence left a rectangle of emptiness in my mind. Not the plastic, not even the number, what it represented. Years turned into a tip. I lifted my fork. My hand had stopped shaking. I wasn't sure yet what I would do, only that I would do something. The chickadee returned, a quick shadow at the feeder, and left again, a habit of leaving and coming back that made a kind of sense. Melissa laughed at a message on her phone. Ryan apologized for the interruption without looking up. I set my napkin in my lap and picked up my knife as though it were any other evening. Ears learn to listen differently once you have heard. You hear the words behind the words. Somewhere a clock ticked, marking the honesty of seconds in a room where nothing else felt honest at all. I put the knife down. The plate reflected my face back at me. Older, yes, but not foolish. I took a breath the way swimmers do at the edge of a cold lake. Evelyn sets her fork down. "What account did she mean?" she whispers to herself. The next morning I sat at the kitchen table staring at my bank statement. 3 transfers each, exactly $25,000 gone without explanation. The paper trembled in my hands, but not from the draft that slipped through the old window frame. I rubbed my thumb across the embossed bank logo, as if touch could change what numbers meant. $97,212. What had been my quiet security was now a string of smaller balances, ending in zeros. I should have called Ryan. That's what a mother is supposed to do, trust her child first. Ask softly. But the echo of Melissa's voice from last night still rang in my head. She's so easy. I wasn't going to be easy anymore. Outside, Vermont's April sun tried to shine through the frost, still clinging to the fields. My cottage sat just beyond the edge of town. A small clapboard house Dennis and I bought with a teacher's salary and a prayer. The kettle whistled like it always had, loyal, predictable, and I poured myself tea, letting the lemon slice float on the surface like a little island. When Ruth knocked, she didn't wait for me to answer. She never did. "Morning, Evelyn," she called, stepping in with a gust of cold air and that smell of cinnamon gum she'd chewed for 30 years. "You look like you saw a ghost." I handed her the statement. Maybe I did. She perched her reading glasses on her nose and squinted. "Sweet Lord. 3 withdrawals. Same amount, same pattern. You didn't authorize these." I shook my head. "Never. Dennis and I barely touched that account. It's the nest egg." Ruth folded the paper slower than necessary. "Then you call the bank. Today. Don't wait for him or her. They'll spin you like a top before you hang up." "I don't want to make a fuss," I murmured. Ruth slammed her palm lightly on the table. "A fuss is how thieves get caught." Her words hit hard. It wasn't the money. It was what it represented, all the years of saving the holidays, skip the coupons cut. I dialed the bank before my courage could retreat. The manager, a man named Dorsey, with the polite rhythm of someone trained to soothe, told me the transfers were consistent with recent instructions. "What instructions?" I asked. He hesitated. "According to our records, Mrs. Carter confirmed these in person last month." I felt my stomach tighten. "I haven't been there since Christmas." Another pause. Then the sound of papers shuffling. "Ma'am, there's a signature here. It matches the card on file. I'd like to see it." By afternoon, Ruth had driven me to the bank herself, her old Subaru rattling like bones. The clerk offered a practiced smile as she laid the photocopy before me. My name, Evelyn M. Carter, sprawled across the bottom of the authorization form. Only it wasn't my handwriting. The C in Carter looped high, elegant. Mine had always been small, and square, the mark of a schoolteacher who graded too many essays. Ruth leaned closer. "That's a forgery, if I've ever seen one." The clerk's smile faltered. "We can escalate this to our fraud department, Mrs. Carter, but you'll need to file a statement first, and it could take a few weeks." Weeks. A word that sounds harmless until you realize how much can disappear inside it. "Do it," I said. My voice surprised me, steady, not shaking. Back home, I dug through the drawer beside the phone until I found the old brown ledger. Every expense, every note from Dennis, every grocery list with his scrawled comments, proof of a life built on trust. As I flipped through, I found a photo pressed between the pages. Ryan at 10, holding the birdhouse he and Dennis had built together. His grin was wide, his front tooth missing. That boy wouldn't have let anyone steal from his mother. Ruth poured coffee while I traced the edge of the photo. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" she asked. "That Melissa had help, that she had access," Ruth corrected. "Remember Christmas? She offered to organize your bills because you said your eyes were tired." I remembered. I'd thanked her. That night, sleep came in fits. I dreamed of pens scratching across paper, of my name being written by hands that didn't love me. The house creaked as if Dennis were walking through the halls, restless. At dawn, I rose and sat by the window with a blanket around my shoulders. Across the street, Mr. Blake's porch light flickered on. He was heading to the bakery early again. Life kept going even when your world tilted. By 9 a.m., the bank called back. "Mrs. Carter, our team noticed a pattern. The funds were moved to an account under your name, but at a different branch opened recently." My breath caught. "Where?" "Downtown Burlington. Opened 3 months ago. Signature verification passed because the system scanned your existing card." Melissa. It had to be her. She'd borrowed my ID last winter when she said she needed it for the warranty claim on the dishwasher. I remembered handing it over, thinking nothing of it. Ruth didn't even wait for me to hang up. "We're driving there," she said. The Burlington branch looked newer, brighter. The young teller's badge read, "Lisa, Customer Relations." When I explained, she frowned and disappeared into the back. Moments later, she returned, whispering, "Mrs. Carter, this might help." She slipped a printout onto the counter. I saw the email address linked to the account mgray.dsigns@gmail.com. Melissa's business email. My pulse thudded in my ears. I taught handwriting for 20 years, but nothing prepares you for the sight of your name stolen and twisted into someone else's gain. Back in the car, Ruth gripped the steering wheel. We go to Ryan. Tonight, but I shook my head. No, not yet. I need to see how deep this runs. I wasn't crying anymore. The tears had hardened into something else, resolve. That evening, I opened my notebook and began to write down everything, the dates, the amounts, the phone calls. The pages filled quickly. At the top, I wrote in neat teacher's script, evidence. Each pen stroke felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. By midnight, I had a plan, simple, quiet. Tomorrow, I'd confront them, but not without proof. Melissa liked to play perfect. I'd let her play one more time in front of witnesses. The wind outside rattled the bird feeder. Somewhere inside that sound, I heard Dennis's old phrase, "Keep your records, Eve." Truth loves paper. I smiled for the first time all day. Because truth, like paper, doesn't burn easily. Mrs. Carter, the banker had said softly, "This other account, it was opened by your daughter-in-law." Evelyn grips the counter, whispering, "She used my name." "You're overreacting, Mom," Ryan said. He didn't even ask what Melissa had done, he just defended her. The words hit harder than I expected. They weren't shouted but spoken in that tired, condescending tone children use when they think they know better than the people who raised them. He said Mom like it was a burden. I'd driven to his house that evening, my notebook tucked inside my purse. It was raining, fine cold rain that made the streetlights blur. The townhouse looked different in the dark. Modern. Detached. Nothing like the home Dennis and I had built. Even the porch light seemed sterile, too bright. Melissa opened the door before I could knock twice. She wore that same soft cardigan, beige and spotless, the kind of clothing you can only afford when you don't scrub your own counters. "Oh, Evelyn," she said, voice syrupy sweet. "What a surprise. I called earlier," I said. "You didn't answer." Her smile didn't falter. "Dinner's almost ready. Ryan's just finishing an email." I stepped past her without waiting for an invitation. "This won't take long." Inside, the air smelled of roasted vegetables and something floral, fake like plug-in perfume. Their dining table gleamed under recessed lights, not a single fingerprint in sight. Everything in that house screamed perfection. And yet I could feel rot beneath the surface. Ryan came downstairs, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. He looked older than I remembered, but not wiser. "Mom, what's going on?" I pulled the notebook from my purse, placing it on the counter between us. "We need to talk." Melissa crossed her arms. "Can this wait until after dinner?" "It cannot." My voice cracked just enough to betray the tremor beneath it. "These are bank statements. Withdrawals in my name. Transfers I never authorized." Ryan frowned, taking the pages as if they were a student's late assignment. "Where did you get these?" "The bank." He skimmed through them, flipping too quickly, not reading, just waiting for his chance to speak. "Melissa," he said finally. She sighed like an actress preparing for her monologue. "Evelyn, I think there's been a misunderstanding. You told me, remember, that you wanted me to help organize your finances because you hate online banking. I asked you to show me, not to sign for me." Her lips parted, feigning hurt. "Oh, I must have misunderstood. You know how chaotic it was around the holidays. I thought you wanted me to handle things temporarily." "Temporarily." I felt my voice rise. "Melissa, you forged my signature." Ryan stepped between us. "Mom, stop. Please. Let's not make this into a war." "A war?" The word stung. Wars have two sides. Betrayal only has one. I looked at him, really looked, and saw a man I didn't recognize. His jaw set like Dennis's used to when we argued about bills, but there was no kindness behind it. "You believe her," I whispered. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. "I believe there's confusion. Melissa's always tried to help. You've been under stress since Dad died. Maybe you're remembering things differently." The sentence folded around me like a blanket soaked in ice. "Maybe you're remembering things differently. That's how it starts, the slow erasure of your own mind." "I'm not confused," I said. She opened another account. "In my name." Melissa gasped, delicately pressing a hand to her chest. "Oh my God, Evelyn, that's serious. Are you sure someone isn't targeting you?" "Identity theft happens to older people all the time. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I'd learned that silence frightens people more than shouting. Identity theft, I repeated. Yes, that's what I'm calling it too. Ryan stepped closer, placing a hand on my shoulder. His touch, once reassuring, now felt like control. Mom, let's sit down. You're shaking. You don't have to accuse anyone right now. I'm not accusing. I opened the notebook again, sliding a photocopy toward him. I'm proving. He looked, then shook his head. This doesn't make sense. Melissa turned away, pretending to wipe a spotless counter. Ryan, maybe we should call the bank together tomorrow. They'll clear it up. I already called, I said. They confirmed the account was opened in person. By your wife. Silence. You could hear the clock ticking above the fireplace, each second hammering louder than the last. Finally, Ryan laughed, once brittle and thin. Mom, you can't just accuse my wife of a crime. Do you have any idea what that sounds like? Yes, I said quietly. Like someone who's tired of being robbed politely. Melissa's shoulders stiffened. This is unbelievable. I've done everything to make her comfortable. We invited her to dinner to Christmas. You invited me. I cut in. So I'd feel indebted. She turned, tears welling instantly, as if on command. Ryan, you see what she's doing. She hates me. She never wanted me in this family. He sighed the weight of her words, landing right where she wanted. Mom, please. Don't do this tonight. There it was. The unspoken rule of family peace at any price, even if truth bleeds out on the table. I picked up my purse. You're right, Ryan. Not tonight. He looked relieved, thinking I'd surrendered. But as I reached for the doorknob, I turned back. Do you remember what Dad used to say about truth? He hesitated. Mom, truth doesn't shout, I said. It waits. Quietly. Until you stop lying. Melissa's tears stopped mid-track. For the first time, she couldn't meet my eyes. The rain had stopped outside. The street shimmered with puddles catching the porch light. I walked down the steps, slowly breathing air that felt colder, clearer. Behind me, I heard their muffled voices, her whisper, his sigh, the door closing. In the car, I laid the notebook on the passenger seat and stared at it. The cover was cracked, the corners bent from years of use. It had recorded birthdays, grocery lists, prayers. Now it recorded betrayal. I started the engine. The wipers smeared a thin film across the windshield, clearing just enough to see the house. One upstairs light still burned their bedroom. When Dennis died, I promised myself I'd keep the family together. I didn't realize I'd be the only one trying. I drove home slowly past the grocery store, where I used to buy Ryan his favorite cereal, past the church, where we'd held Dennis's funeral. The roads were empty, except for memory. Inside the house, the clock struck 10. I poured tea I wouldn't drink, and sat by the window staring at the bird feeder. The chickadees were asleep now, safe from hunger and deceit. My reflection in the glass looked foreign, older, yes, but awake. Somewhere deep down I felt the shift. The kind that turns pain into purpose. I whispered into the still room. Then I'll find the truth myself. Melissa smirks, thinking she's already won. Have you ever been told you were overreacting when you were just standing up for yourself? Comment 1 if you've ever been gaslighted by family, or 0 if you've seen someone go through it. Tell me where you're watching from, and if you believe silence can be the loudest proof of love turned cold. Sometimes the truth doesn't scream, it hides in the smallest print. And that morning, as I traced my name on a forged document, I realized my kindness had been weaponized. The rain hadn't stopped since the night I walked out of Ryan's house. It tapped against the window like a metronome, marking each heartbeat of humiliation. I'd spent half the night staring at my ledger, cross-checking dates and withdrawals until the numbers blurred together. The next morning, I put on my old gray coat, the one Dennis used to tease me about, Eve, that thing's seen more winters than we have, and drove into town. Vermont's Main Street looked washed out under the drizzle. The coffee shop's neon sign flickered weakly. The same old men sat inside trading gossip over cinnamon rolls. None of them knew that one of their neighbors had just discovered her life savings stolen by her own family. I parked outside the bank, clutching the folder Ruth had insisted we prepare: photocopies, statements, and a small yellow post-it labeled, "Evidence Hasson." Ruth was already waiting near the entrance, shaking out her umbrella. "You sure you're ready for this, Evelyn?" she asked. "Ready?" I gave a faint smile. "No. But done being quiet, absolutely." Inside the bank smelled of paper and disinfectant. A young teller greeted us with a cheeriness that didn't fit the gray morning. "Good morning, Mrs. Carter. How can we help you today?" "I need to see every form signed under my name for the last 6 months." I said, my voice steady but clipped. "Every single one." The teller blinked, unsure whether I was angry or polite enough to ignore. She nodded and disappeared behind the frosted glass. When she returned, she carried a stack of papers thicker than I expected. "Some of these are duplicates," she said, sliding them across the desk. "Would you like to look through them here?" I sat down Ruth at my side and began turning pages. My signature leapt out at me, familiar then wrong. The loops on the Y, the tilt of the C, the careful spacing. Melissa had always been observant. She'd studied the way I wrote holiday cards, the thank you notes I insisted on mailing by hand. She'd imitated me perfectly, except for one thing. I never dotted my I with a full circle. She had. Ruth leaned in, whispering, "That's enough to hang her with." I didn't answer. My eyes stopped on a line item labeled "Property Loan, secured by 43 Maple Lane." "My address." "She didn't," I whispered. The teller looked up. "Ma'am." "Nothing," I said quickly, heart hammering. "Could I have a copy of this one, please?" We left the bank in silence, the rain easing into mist. Ruth drove both hands tight on the wheel. "She used your house as collateral. That's not stealing anymore, Evelyn, that's criminal fraud." "I know. You gonna call Ryan?" "Not yet," I said. "Not until I have everything." At home, I spread the documents across the kitchen table. The air smelled faintly of last night's tea, cold, sweet, and stale. Each paper told the same story, a slow, deliberate draining of trust. Melissa had been planning this for months, maybe longer. The realization was almost comforting. Betrayal feels cleaner when it's premeditated. At least, then you know it wasn't your fault. By afternoon, Ruth returned with her laptop. "I've been digging," she said. "Melissa's design business, M. Gray Interiors, she's broke. Been borrowing money left and right. The bank loan in your name was her lifeline." I stared at the screen. Photos of Melissa at charity galas, all smiles and champagne, flutes, her hands resting on Ryan's chest. Every picture glittered with the lie that she was generous, successful, adored. "She wanted to save her image," I said. "And she sold my house to do it." Ruth nodded grimly. "She's clever, I'll give her that." "Clever," I repeated. "That's one word for it." Outside, the rain had stopped completely, leaving the driveway slick with reflections. I picked up the phone, dialing the number printed on the loan form. When the branch manager answered, I explained everything calmly, precisely, like the teacher I used to be. He promised to open a fraud case immediately and contact the authorities. When I hung up, Ruth exhaled. "You just lit a fire under them." "I didn't light it," I said. "She did. I'm just letting it burn." That night I couldn't sleep. The house felt too quiet, the kind of silence that amplifies every memory. I wandered to the living room where Dennis's old record player still sat beneath the window. The needle had broken years ago, but I turned the knob anyway, listening to the soft static hum. It sounded like breathing. "Truth loves paper," Dennis had told me once. "But justice loves persistence." I whispered those words to the dark, then sat at the kitchen table again, pen in hand. The ink bled slightly on the cheap notebook paper, spreading like veins under skin. I wrote every date, every document number, every lie that now had a shape. Hours later, just as dawn began to gray, the horizon, the phone rang. Ruth's voice was urgent. "Evelyn, you need to come over. Now." I found her standing in her doorway with a printout in hand. "One of the documents you showed me. It's been filed publicly. She used your name on a business lease, too." "For what?" "A showroom downtown. Opening next month." The absurdity nearly made me laugh. "She's building her empire with my signature. Then we take it apart," Ruth said. "Piece by piece." I felt something inside me solidify, no longer anger but direction. Let her think she's safe. We'll collect everything. Then we'll show the bank, the police, and Ryan all at once." Ruth grinned. "You're scarier than I remember." "Age has its perks," I said. For the first time in weeks, I ate dinner, soup, and toast. Simple, but enough. My appetite, like my courage, had finally returned. Outside, the sky cleared to reveal a thin slice of moon, pale as forgiveness. But I wasn't ready for forgiveness yet. Before bed, I slipped my wedding ring off and set it beside the ledger. It caught the light from the lamp flashing once before going still. I'd carried Dennis's promise of loyalty long enough. Tonight I needed my hands free. I checked the papers one last time, aligning them neatly, the teacher in me, unwilling to leave chaos on the table. When I finally closed the notebook, the house seemed to exhale. The next step would be confrontation. But on my terms. Quiet. Controlled. I'd let Melissa think she'd won. People like her always reveal themselves when they believe the world is applauding. Mrs. Carter, the clerk, had whispered, "The collateral is your home address." Evelyn's breath caught. The walls of the bank suddenly felt smaller, colder. "You wanted honesty," I said, sliding the envelope across the table. "Then let's eat with the truth tonight." The table gleamed beneath the chandelier's low light. Every fork and wine glass perfectly aligned, just like Melissa liked them. The roast chicken steamed in the center untouched. I'd prepared it myself, same recipe as always, but tonight it wasn't meant to feed anyone. It was bait. Ryan sat at the head of the table, glancing between us, already uneasy. His tie hung loose, the soft exhaustion of a man caught between loyalty and guilt. Melissa, on the other hand, looked radiant, hair, swept back lipstick, the color of ripe cherries. She thought this was another one of my let's make peace dinners. She even brought a bottle of Pinot, laughing when she poured herself the first glass. "You outdid yourself again, Evelyn," she said smoothly. "Smells divine. I thought it should be," I replied, placing the envelope near her plate. "It's a special dinner." Her eyes flicked to the envelope. "Oh, what's that?" "Dessert," I said softly. For a moment none of us spoke. The clock on the mantel ticked, echoing the rhythm of my heart. The air felt dense, charged. Outside, thunder rolled across the hills, a low growl that shook the windows. Ryan cleared his throat. "Mom, what's this about?" I met his gaze. "It's about the house. And the bank. And the woman sitting across from you." Melissa gave a little laugh. High-pitched and delicate. "I don't understand. What are you implying?" I pushed the envelope closer. "You'll understand when you open it." She hesitated, then slid a manicured finger under the flap. I could see her pulse jump at her throat as she pulled out the photocopies, bank transfers, loan documents, and the email printout with her company name beside my forged signature. Her smile froze her face, an elegant mask cracking at the edges. "Where did you get these?" "The bank," I said. "The same one that's about to call the police." Ryan's fork slipped from his hand, clattering onto the plate. "What is this?" "She forged my signature," I said evenly. "Took loans, moved money, used my house as collateral." Melissa's lips parted, but no sound came out. Then predictably came the tears. "Ryan, she's twisting everything. I was helping." "You said she didn't understand online banking, remember?" I leaned back, watching her act unfold. "That's a good story," I said. "Almost believable if I hadn't recorded your phone call." Her head snapped up. "You what?" I slid my phone across the table and pressed play. The speaker crackled, then her own voice filled the room. "We'll sell it before the old woman finds out. By then it'll be too late." The sound of her words, the certainty, the contempt hung in the air. Ryan's face went white. "Melissa," he whispered. "Please tell me this isn't you." She looked cornered. "A beautiful animal, ready to strike." "That's out of context," she said quickly. "It's not what it sounds like." "It's exactly what it sounds like," I cut in. "And now, everyone at this table knows." Lightning flashed outside, bright enough to illuminate her trembling hands. She pushed back her chair, but I raised a hand. "Sit. You're not leaving yet." Mom, Ryan began. But I stopped him. "I spent my life forgiving people for being human," I said. "But this isn't a mistake. This is greed dressed as kindness." Melissa's voice dropped to a hiss. You're ruining your son's marriage. I smiled faintly. No, you did that yourself. The silence that followed was alive. Rain hammered the windows. The chicken cooled between us, untouched, its scent now heavy and sour. Ryan stood slowly, his hands trembling. Melissa, tell me what's going on. Tell me she's wrong. She pressed a tissue to her eyes. Ryan, I was desperate. The business things weren't going well. I thought I could fix it before anyone got hurt. By stealing from my mother. His voice cracked. You lied to me. You used her. I did it for us, she cried. He shook his head, backing away. You did it for yourself. For the first time, Melissa's poise slipped completely. You can't prove I forged anything, she spat. Actually, I said, pulling another sheet from the folder. We can. The bank confirmed the handwriting analysis this morning. They're filing charges. You'll get the call soon. Her chair scraped violently against the floor as she stood. You think you've won, old woman. You'll regret humiliating me like this. I already regret trusting you, I replied. Ryan reached for her arm, but she pulled away, grabbing her purse and storming toward the door. The slam echoed through the house like a gunshot. The quiet that followed was unbearable. Only the rain remained steady and relentless. Ryan sank into his chair, face in his hands. Mom, he said hoarsely. I didn't want to believe it. I know. I reached across the table, resting my hand on his. But believing lies doesn't make them true. He looked up, tears glistening in his eyes, the same blue Dennis had. What happens now? Now, I said, we let the truth do what it does best. He nodded slowly, and for the first time in years, I saw the boy he used to be, the one who built birdhouses and believed in honesty. The thunder outside faded to a distant rumble. The storm was moving on. Tell me it's not true, Melissa, Ryan had whispered. Silence. Only the ticking clock answered. When the police left and the silence returned, I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty but peaceful. The house smelled of rain and paper, the kind of damp quiet that follows a storm. The officers had taken Melissa's statements and left with boxes of documents, photographs, and the laptop she thought she'd hidden well. They promised I'd hear soon about the charges. I wasn't counting the days. Justice would move on its own time. Ryan stood in the doorway, his face gray with exhaustion. He hadn't said much since last night's confrontation. The clock on the wall ticked steadily between us, loud enough to fill what words couldn't. Mom, he finally whispered. I don't know how to fix this. I looked at him, at the man my boy had become, at the guilt that bent his shoulders. You don't have to fix it, I said. You just have to stop pretending it wasn't broken. He nodded, eyes glistening. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He reached for my hand. His grip was warm, trembling, human. I'm so sorry, he said. I know, I replied. Just promise me you'll never confuse silence with peace again. For a long moment we stood like that. Then he left quietly, carefully closing the door behind him. The echo of that click was the real ending, the one I needed. I moved out of the old house a month later. Too many rooms, too many ghosts. The town was small, but word traveled fast. People in the grocery store nodded kindly, their eyes full of curiosity and pity. I didn't owe them explanations. Ruth helped me pack. You sure about this place by the lake? She asked, folding linens into a box. I'm sure, I said. It's time to start where no one knows my name. The cabin was small, wooden, and simple. A porch overlooking Silver Birch Lake, a place Dennis once fished when he was young. The first morning I woke there, I brewed coffee and watched the sunrise paint the water gold. For the first time in years, I breathed without waiting for the phone to ring. The days found their rhythm. I fixed a leaky faucet, planted marigolds outside the window, joined a local reading club. No one there asked what I used to do, who my son was, or what I'd lost. They only asked which pie I preferred at the bakery. It felt strange at first to be seen as simply Evelyn, not someone's mother or the widow Carter. One afternoon, Ruth came by with a paper bag of groceries and that familiar grin. You're glowing, she teased. I'm free. I corrected. It looks different on everyone. We sat on the porch sipping iced tea as the lake rippled under the wind. "Do you think he'll visit?" she asked gently. Ryan, I smiled faintly. "When he's ready." He did weeks later. I saw his car coming up the gravel road, dust rising behind it like a soft ghost. He stepped out, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers, awkward, clumsy, real. "I didn't know what you liked," he said. "I like that you came." We sat outside, the silence, no longer heavy but healing. He told me about the divorce papers, about how Melissa had finally confessed everything. He said he'd sold the townhouse, moved to an apartment near his work, started seeing a counselor. I kept thinking if I'd listened sooner, he murmured. Maybe nothing. I interrupted gently. "We can't rewrite guilt, only learn its grammar." He laughed through his tears. "You always did talk like a teacher, and you always rolled your eyes," I said, smiling. When he left that day, I didn't cry. I watched his car disappear down the dirt road, the sound fading into the hum of cicadas. He was finally carrying his own weight, and I was no longer carrying his. The seasons shifted. Autumn came with copper leaves, the kind that danced across my porch before settling like small prayers. I began teaching children again, just handwriting classes at the local library. Watching their tiny fingers curve letters felt like mending something invisible in myself. One of the girls asked why handwriting mattered when everyone typed. "Because," I told her, "when you write by hand, the paper remembers your truth." That night I took out the brown ledger, the same one that had once held all my evidence, and replaced its label. The new one simply read, "New Beginnings." Inside, I started writing recipes, poems, and the names of people who'd shown me kindness. Sometimes I still thought of Melissa. Not with anger, but with a distant pity, the kind you feel for someone lost in their own storm. Her trial was set for winter. I'd already decided not to attend. Some victories don't need witnesses. The only call I took that week came from the local paper. They'd heard about my classes and wanted to feature them in a piece about women starting over. I almost said no, but Ruth nudged me. "Let them hear what survival sounds like," she said. The article came out on a Sunday. Its headline read, "Retired Teacher Turns Betrayal into New Chapter by the Lake." Under the photo, I was smiling, not perfectly, not pretending, just enough to show I'd made peace with the woman in the reflection. That evening, as the sun slipped behind the pines, I sat on the dock with my notebook. The water mirrored the sky, smooth and still. Somewhere a loon called, a haunting, beautiful sound. I thought of Dennis then, and of the promise I'd broken when he died, to keep the family together. Maybe I hadn't failed after all. Maybe letting go was a different kind of keeping. I closed my eyes, letting the breeze carry the scent of pine and lake water. The air felt clean, earned. When I opened my notebook, I wrote one final line. "Freedom has no price tag. But dignity is what you fight for until the end." I stood, stretched my back, and walked toward the cabin. The lights inside glowed soft and amber. Behind me, the lake rippled once, then stilled, as if agreeing. As she closes her cabin door, Evelyn whispers, "I finally bought something money can't piece." The screen fades to soft light over the lake. There's a quiet moment that comes after every storm, the kind where the air feels heavier, not because of grief, but because of clarity. For months, I thought the betrayal had broken me, but it hadn't. It had simply stripped away what wasn't mine to carry anymore. The illusion that love and loyalty always walk hand in hand. I used to believe that family meant forever. Now I know it means truth. And truth, like paper, doesn't burn easily. It just waits for the right hands to hold it again. Melissa's lies didn't destroy me. They introduced me to myself. The woman who once said yes to everything finally learned that no is also a form of love. Love for one's dignity, one's peace, one's sanity. Ryan's apology didn't erase the pain, but it reminded me that remorse can still grow in scorched soil. Forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's releasing the rope that's been cutting into your own hands. And maybe that's what healing truly is, not rebuilding what was lost, but building something honest in its place. When I sit by the lake now, I think of boundaries, the invisible fences that protect the heart. No one teaches you how to draw them until someone crosses every line you thought was safe. I learned that silence can be justice, and that peace isn't given, it's earned one brave decision at a time. Family can wound you deeper than any stranger, but it can also teach you what respect should look like. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away from those who keep asking for pieces of you they never intend to return. If you're listening to this, and you've ever been betrayed by someone who should have protected you, I want you to remember this. You are not weak for loving deeply. You are strong for surviving what love did to you. Because peace, real peace, isn't when everyone stops fighting, it's when you stop begging to be understood. So tonight, I don't pray for reconciliation. I pray for dignity, for boundaries, for women like me, like you who've learned the hard way that self-respect is the highest form of grace. Have you ever had to choose peace over family? Share your story below. If this tale touched your heart, comment one or tell us where you're listening from. And if you believe that justice can start in silence, subscribe to Auntie Tales, where every story reminds us sometimes the loudest revenge is living gently, truthfully, and free.